Hey everybody, welcome back to History Student Reacts. My name is Ethan, and today we will be reacting to Napoleon's First Victory, Siege of Toulon, 1793, by Epic History TV. So this was a suggestion by Light X Heaven, so shout out to you, my friend. I like Epic History TV. I haven't watched too many of their videos, but the ones I've seen I do enjoy. If you guys enjoy this video, enjoy this reaction, please leave a like so I know to keep doing more and keep reacting to this channel's videos on Napoleon. I know a bit about Napoleon, you know, I've done a bit of research on the French Revolution in this time period, and obviously Napoleon is sort of the bookend of that. You know, he ended off that process when he became emperor. So I'm excited to get into this one, excited to learn a bit about Napoleon, so let's just jump right into it.
An Epic History TV History March collaboration, supported by our sponsor, Osprey Publishing. In the summer of 1793, the French Revolution was entering its fourth year, and France was on the verge of anarchy.
Yeah.
In Paris, political extremists had seized control of the revolution.
Yep, I mean, we're going into the Reign of Terror, and Robespierre will soon be the only one, pretty much, with that level of power. I mean, he will murder Danton. You've got Saint-Just there as well, another radical. Of these three, you know, Danton would be the least radical. You know, he would be executed by Robespierre. So yeah, things are really heating up at this point.
They guillotined the king.
Yep.
And imposed a reign of terror that dealt summary justice to all suspected enemies of the revolution.
Yep.
Hoping to unify the new republic, France's leaders had declared war on the Habsburg Empire. But the conflict quickly widened, and soon France was facing the combined might of Europe's leading powers, determined to stamp out her dangerous political experiment. Meanwhile, whole regions of France had come out in open revolt, horrified by the new extremism of the revolution.
Yeah, a lot of the revolts are particularly based on a couple of things. I mean, one, they've executed the king, so that's, you know, an extremely major radical turn that a lot of French people just don't agree with. Two, the war. The war and the levée en masse, and levée, the one before that, means that the government is conscripting people to fight. This was a relatively novel idea. And when, you know, the radical government agent comes through to these towns and says, all right, you know, send your young boys and men to go fight the war, the people who already don't agree with the radicalism of the revolution are like, not a chance. No, we don't want to go and die for a revolution that we don't believe in. And then the third thing was the anti-Catholicism of the revolution, the secularism. You know, the revolution was very secular. It was very anti-religion. It wanted to secularize French society. And a lot of France, particularly rural France, is extremely religious, extremely Catholic at this point. So those are the main factors, but there's a lot of factors that are causing people to rise up against the revolutionary government at this point. You know, the revolts seem pretty threatening at this point, but they never really go anywhere. They get put down. But yeah, this is pretty major. At this point, you know, the revolution feels like it's at siege from all sides. I mean, it's being attacked on all sides by its enemies. It's being attacked internally by counter-revolutionary forces. It's really at risk at this point.
In August, the Republic suffered a further, potentially fatal blow when the city of Toulon joined the revolt.
Well, he's about to talk about it. They also gave up the French Navy.
Toulon was France's largest and most important naval base in the south, home to a third of the entire French Navy. But now, rebels welcomed their old enemy, the British Royal Navy into the port.
Yeah, you know you're in a bad situation where one of your major cities just gives itself up to your foreign enemy and gives away a bunch of your navy. Not a good sign.
By Admiral Lord Hood, aboard HMS Victory. It was an extraordinary coup.
Yeah.
Without a shot being fired, the Allies had crippled French naval power in the Mediterranean and gained a vital toehold on the French coast. All French forces in the area were immediately diverted to face this new threat and lay siege to the rebel port. 19,000 troops in all. But since most French officers had been aristocrats who were now fleeing the revolution in large numbers, they were seriously short of professional leadership.
Yep.
Their commander, General Jean-François Carteau,
seriously missing a lot of the officer corps, which is obviously a problem, but also provides opportunities for young, ambitious, talented men to rise through the ranks. You know, cue Napoleon. Of course, it also provides a serious lack of leadership, which is obviously a massive problem when you have so much warfare going on.
was a loyal Republican, but a court painter by trade with no military training.
You know, a lot of the people put in charge were put in charge because of their loyalty to the Republic, not necessarily their military expertise, because, you know, a lot of the officer corps had already defected, so the government was like, okay, we need people loyal to us in control of the military, but they're having a hard time finding people who have military experience and loyalty to the Republic.
To make matters worse, one of his few professional officers, his artillery commander, Colonel Martin, had been badly wounded on the approach to Toulon. Antoine Salicetti, a Corsican deputy of the National Convention in Paris, recommended as his replacement a fellow countryman, a 24-year-old artillery officer who was passing Toulon en route to the front, named Napoleone Buonaparte.
Here we go.
Or Bonaparte. Bonaparte was a professional soldier, but he'd seen almost no active service. Nevertheless, Salicetti was impressed by his manner, and most of all, his politics. Bonaparte had just written a political pamphlet, a short story about a young artillery officer who berates his fellow diners for their disloyalty to the Republic. General Carteau thought it wise to accept Deputy Salicetti's recommendation.
What a quote.
The great port of Toulon was well defended by city walls and a dozen outlying forts and redoubts. They were held by 2,000 British soldiers and sailors, 6,000 Spanish troops, 6,000 Neapolitans, and 800 Sardinians.
Wow.
Artillery would be the key to overcoming these formidable defences. But when Bonaparte was put in command of the artillery on the 16th of September, he found himself with few cannon, not enough trained gun crews, and a shortage of gunpowder and shot. With relentless energy and determination, Bonaparte transformed the situation, requisitioning unused guns, training infantrymen to work them, setting up a new forge and workshop, and arranging transport from Marseille of 100,000 sandbags for constructing new batteries. Through hard work, he was ultimately able to build his force up to 64 officers and 1,500 men, manning 100 cannon, howitzers, and mortars.
There you go.
Within days, Bonaparte had established 2 new forward batteries with good revolutionary names, La Montagne and Sans Culottes, which brought...
I mean, artillery is key to the battle. Hey, good thing you have Napoleon there. Just about the best guy you could have in this situation.
Toulon's inner harbour within range, and forced Admiral Hood to move all his ships closer to the port.
Right.
Bonaparte also came up with a plan, one that would allow the French to bypass most of Toulon's defences and secure the rapid victory the Republic so desperately needed. Bonaparte argued that if Fort L'Aiguillette could be captured, which looked out across the harbour, he could fill it with heavy guns and shell the British and Spanish fleet at anchor. Admiral Hood would be forced to abandon the port and take with him the Allied soldiers that Toulon relied on for its defence. General Carteau saw the merits of Bonaparte's plan, and on the 22nd of September, French forces attacked Montcaire. But to Bonaparte's exasperation, while he'd argued for an attack by 3,000 men, the indecisive Carteau committed only 400.
Oh no.
Not only was the attack easily repulsed, but it alerted the Allies to the danger. Within 48 hours, they'd reinforced Montcaire with thousands more troops and built a new fort named Fort Mulgrave, bristling with 20 cannon. The position was now so strong, the French nicknamed it Little Gibraltar.
Ha! Wow. If only you'd gone with Bonaparte's plan in the first place. But obviously at this point, this is Napoleon's first shot. So he's not necessarily in the position of power where he can implement his plans in the way he wants to. But this is the start of his rise.
Finally, in mid-November, an experienced professional soldier arrived to take command of French forces, General Dugommier. He saw at once that Bonaparte's plan was the only way to take Toulon, and gave it his full backing.
Nice.
Bonaparte, promoted to major, got to work, overseeing construction of several more batteries in preparation for the decisive assault. One forward battery was so exposed to enemy fire that men refused to be sent there. So Bonaparte renamed it La Batterie des Hommes Sans Peur, the battery of men without fear. And suddenly, there was no shortage of volunteers.
Yeah, you gotta be a good commander. You gotta go encourage them. That's what Napoleon's doing. He's leading men.
It was an early display of Napoleon's genius for inspiring his soldiers.
Yeah.
One that would serve him well in the years ahead. On the 30th of November, the Allied Land Forces commander, British General Charles O'Hara, tried to seize back the initiative, leading an assault on the new French batteries facing Fort Malbousquet. At first, the attack was successful. The batteries were overrun, the French guns spiked. But a counterattack with much greater numbers, and led in person by General Dugommier and Major Bonaparte, drove back the Allies. General O'Hara himself was shot through the hand and captured.
Wow.
12 years before, he'd surrendered to George Washington at Yorktown during the American War of Independence.
Damn.
Now, he got to surrender to Napoleon Bonaparte.
Okay, they're ducking on this guy. He's just surrendering. I'm sure he did more than that, but that's a bad look, man. That's a bad look. I mean, there you go. You're seeing these quotes. He's getting his early accolades. People are saying, this guy is actually really good. And this is as far back as 1793.
In the early hours of the 18th of December, in howling wind and driving rain, the French launched a major assault on Fort Mulgrave. The wet conditions made muskets useless, except as clubs or with bayonets.
Brutal.
Bonaparte led the second wave in person.
I mean, think about those conditions. Those have got to be just brutal, horrific conditions. You know, the guns aren't working, so you're stabbing and beating in the rain and probably the mud. Like, geez, that is, those are brutal conditions right there.
Amid fierce hand-to-hand fighting, his horse was killed under him, and he was bayoneted in the thigh by a British sergeant.
Wow.
A wound that came within inches of ending his life and radically changing the course of history. Finally, the Allied garrison was overwhelmed, and Mulgrave fell to the French. Fort L'Aiguillette and Tour de la Balaquière were soon also in French hands.
Nice.
By the following afternoon, the French had 10 heavy guns in L'Aiguillette, placing the Allied ships within range. Admiral Hood could not expose his valuable ships of the line to such a threat. He had no option but to order an immediate evacuation of the fleet and garrison from
Hey, just as Napoleon said, would you look at that?
Toulon. Small Spanish and British teams raced to destroy all the French ships and naval stores that they couldn't take with them. But amid the chaos of their departure, 18 ships of the line were allowed to fall back into French hands. A badly missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Many French citizens of Toulon were desperate to escape aboard the Allied ships, knowing that the Republicans would inflict terrible reprisals on the city.
Yep.
British and Spanish ships took as many as they could, about 14,000 in all, but scores were drowned amid chaotic and desperate scenes. Others were left to face the wrath of the revolution. Republican troops entered the city the next morning, and executions and firing squads began almost immediately. For the next 2 weeks, about 200 were executed every day. Allied propaganda later blamed Bonaparte for the atrocities, but there's no evidence he was directly involved.
Yeah, but Napoleon did not have the political or military clout to direct the executions at this point. Plus, they were going to happen regardless. I mean, that's why the people were fleeing. They knew they were going to happen. This was not surprising, but still, horrific and brutal.
France's young republic was now fighting back on all fronts.
Yeah.
And with the fall of Toulon, the Allies had lost a golden opportunity, a chance to stir up further revolt, deal a lasting blow to French naval power, perhaps even overturn the revolution. But instead, the French Republic had weathered one of its greatest storms, in no small part thanks to the remarkable judgment, energy and courage of one 24-year-old artillery officer, now promoted Brigadier General in recognition of his extraordinary service at Toulon. Napoleon Bonaparte had taken his first step on the path to greatness.
Yup.
And for Europe, 21 years of almost constant war awaited.
Jeez.
Our sponsor, Osprey Publishing, has nearly 200 titles on the Napoleonic Wars alone, written by specialist historians and covering everything from the history of elite units, tactics, weapons and uniforms. Visit their website to find out more.
Yeah, check out the sponsor,
Thanks
guys.
to all the brilliant...
All right. That was a fantastic, fantastic video. This is, as he was saying, the first step in Napoleon's path to greatness. It's still pretty early, 1793. This is the first step in Napoleon's path to fame. This is the first notch in his reputation, and it's a pretty good victory to have under your belt. I mean, you can sort of see why Napoleon started to build a reputation as a brilliant general and a savior of France when he organizes something like this, in such a terrible situation. I mean, your own city has turned itself over to your enemies, and Napoleon saves it. So yeah, this is a great starting point. If you guys enjoyed this reaction, leave a like, and I will know that you want to see more reactions to this Napoleon series. Very, very interesting. Fascinating guy, fantastic general. So yeah, I'm excited to watch more. Please stay tuned for more, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye, and I hope you guys have a good day.